let's go in general terms. What do you mean by deposits? Any idea? What do you mean by deposits? You want to be very clear with the meaning means let's do this activity. You give me 10 rupees. Only 10 rupees. இதெல்லாம் ஒரு பெரிய விஷயமே இல்லை. நாங்கெல்லாம் professionals. You just give me one single 10 rupee. A gives me 10 rupee, B gives me 10 rupees, C, D, and thousands of people. 1 lakh number of people give me 10 rupees. How much is the company getting? Me, the censored company. How much is the company getting? 10 lakhs. This 10 rupees seems to be a very small amount for each and every person, but when it's pulled together, it becomes a very big amount. After all, when we say company, it's an artificial person, and who is running this company? The board of directors. The separate management team is there, they are running, and they are individuals. எப்பவுமே வந்து இண்டிவிஜுவல்ஸ் நம்பவே கூடாது. அவங்களுக்கு என்னென்ன வேணுமோ அதெல்லாம் எடுத்துக்கிட்டு கட்டி விட்டுருவாங்க. Okay, so we have to be very clear how the management is doing their job. That's why we have this content called as deposits, which means deposit is nothing but, in very simple term, we can call this as receipt of money. I'm receiving money. Okay. Probably I may be saying that நீங்க 10 rupees தரீங்கல்ல அதுக்கு வந்து நான் acknowledgement கொடுத்துறேன், receipt கொடுத்துறேன். But what law says about this receipt of money? That's what we're going to discuss over here. Okay. In this angle also we can discuss when we talk about capital. Yes, we know we discuss two types of capital. One is equity and another one is debt capital. Okay, equity and preference. Okay, equity in the sense that I'm including equity and preference. And debt capital first stands with debentures. The very next to debentures or almost equal to debentures stands with deposits. You may ask me, what's the difference between debentures and deposits? Both, probably not both. Debentures, we can say it's a long-term borrowing, but deposit not exactly long-term borrowing because they're going to be minimum only for 3 years. Okay, minimum only for 3 years. We'll talk about. One second. I think the screen is visible now. Yeah. Debentures, we'll talk about long-term debentures, okay, long-term borrowings. Whereas if we go for deposits, we are not going to talk about like 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, maximum to 3 years. In fact, we'll not say this as 3 years, 3 into 12 in terms of months, 36 months we'll talk about, okay. So one major difference, that is it's long-term and it's not exactly long-term. So you cannot call this a short-term also, but here, because it is up to 36 months, we say it's a short-term. First difference. Second difference is, when we say debenture, usually charges are created, okay, for securitizing, for collateral security. But whereas when you talk about deposits, that was not the provision earlier. We were not discussing this with respect to 2013 Act also. So we received an amendment after that when we are talking about it. Okay. So is that charges compulsory? Likewise, if we talk about debentures, we have the trustees. Is this trust and trustees compulsory, mandatory? And the provisions say, yes, charges is highly created. Trust is also there. Trustee should be there for managing the fund and other things and all. So that's why we need to equate this with debentures. Still the answer is no. In the reason debentures and deposits are equal, still the answer is no. Why means debentures means we clearly treat this as securities. But deposits, sometimes what happens is, I just took 10 rupees from him. இதுக்கெல்லாம் ஒரு acknowledgement வேணுமா? What he will say, ma'am, 10 ரூபாய் தானே மேம், நீங்களே வச்சுக்கோங்க மேம். 10 லட்சம் ரூபாய் நீங்க கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்குவீங்க என்ன, கரெக்டா? 10 ரூபாய் கொடுத்து ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்க மாட்டீங்க. ஓகே, இதெல்லாம் ஒன்றும் மேம். Atleast 1 lakh, okay. 2 lakh, okay. 3 lakh, okay. For just a small penny amount, you will not remember. What the company will do, it will not have its accounts for this 10 rupees. But it's not just one single 10 rupee. What happens? It runs to, pull ups to 10 lakhs. அப்போ சின்ன அமௌண்ட், சின்ன நம்பர் ஆஃப் இயருக்கு இருக்கும் போது இப்ப என்ன தேவைப்படுது, எனக்கு ப்ராப்பர் அக்கௌண்ட்ஸ் தேவைப்படுது, ப்ராப்பர் ரெகுலேஷன்ஸ் தேவைப்படுது. தட்ஸ் வை வி ஹேவ் திஸ் கான்செப்ட் ரிலேட்டட் டு டெபாசிட்ஸ். ஓகே, so what are deposits? That's what we need to understand here. This is a colloquial or very simple definition: receiving the money. Somebody is depositing. Where I deposit? In a bank. Where I deposit? Undi box, undial box. I deposit. It's a non-depositor. How the company gets money? There's no receipt of money, right? How the company gets money? Sorry, how you get money? உங்களுக்கு எப்படி பணம் வருது? நான் தரேன் பணம் வருது, ஃப்ரெண்ட் கொடுக்குறாங்க பணம் வருது. ஓகே, எல்ஸ் பேரண்ட்ஸ், எல்ஸ் யூ earn. Likewise, company also gets money, right? What are the receipts of money company gets? Yes, we can colloquially discuss. Need not go for deposits angle. How the company gets money? Yeah, by doing business. Else, by equity shares and preference shares like equity capital. Other thing, debt capital. I'm talking about debentures. Apart from this, how the company gets money? This I give an order. Okay, this is doing business. Okay, doing business. What happens is doing business, the company earns money. Now treat the other angle. Go for the other way. Is the company completing the business? Okay. Is the company completing the service? If the company is not completing the business or completing the service in that financial year, or will not say financial year, we say 365 days is the time. If the company is not finishing the service, that is not completing the service, or if the company is not delivering the goods in case of goods, then it will be treated as deposits. Deposit is not doing business. I'm receiving money. The customer is giving me money. Is that a deposit? No. But I'm holding that money. I'm not providing the service. I'm not delivering the goods for 1 year. It is treated as deposit. Na solla, loss of it. Okay. So likewise, what and all the other provisions is discussed in law. We'll discuss it. Okay. So we'll go for a very general introduction. Introduction. First, please understand is nothing but receipt of money. It can be in any form. Receipt of money can be in any form. It can be in form of deposits, can be form of loan or any other form. It's treated as external finance and it's cost effective also. Okay. Most of the companies they don't go for debentures, they go for deposits instead. The main reason is if receive the deposits, only for 10 months I want the money. Okay, I'm just planning my budget period is 3 or 4 months or 5 months or 10 months or 1.5 years, that's 15 months or 18 months. Yes, I can plan for deposits, not for debentures. Debentures is a lengthy work. Okay, we need to go for GM and we need to pass for proper resolution. We need to give proper interest rate. Okay, all these things are needed. But what happens with the deposits is very simple. கை மாத்த கடன் வாங்குறேன்ல அந்த மாதிரி கை மாத்திரம் வாங்குறேன் எவ்வளவு இப்போ ஊருக்கு போறேன் ஒரு 1000 ரூபாய் கொடுங்க ஊருக்கு போயிட்டு வந்து கொடுத்துட்டேன் அவ்வளவுதான் ஒர்க்கிங் கேபிட்டலுக்கு வேணும் கையில பணம் கொடுங்க எவ்வளவு 20 லட்சம் வேணும் எப்ப கொடுப்பீங்க 3 வருஷம் தான் கொடுத்துறேன் இந்த கார்டு தான் வேணும் ஓகே கை மாத்தம் வாங்குறேன்னு சொல்றோம் இல்லையா தட்ஸ் அபவுட் டெபாசிட் இல்ல வீடு கட்டினா லோன் வேணும் கார் வாங்குறா லோன் வேணும் தட் லோன் திஸ் லோன் இதெல்லாமே கொஞ்சம் லென்த்தி டேர்ம்ஸ்க்கு தான் தட்ஸ் equated in terms of dimensions. Okay, so in terms of long term investment like the company is in expanding a particular unit or buying a machinery in the time lala will not go for deposit instead go for debentures else issue the shares equity. Okay, so in that sense if we talk about deposits it's cost effective because it's not going to take a lengthy period, it's not a lengthy procedure. We need not issue prospectus or other actually you have to issue the prospectus but it's going to be a simple job compared to debentures and others. And fourth one, it's a receipt of finance. You're bringing money inside. Yes, why we need to talk about the provision is to control the malpractices and to safeguard the investors made in the investment. This is also called as investment covered under section 76 of the provision. And yes, please make a note of the seventh point, often repeated, at least like one word question or something like that. Private company can get the deposits from members only, can get the receipt of money from members only. Okay, see, public company தான் the prospectors from public எல்லாம் இருக்கு. Private company எப்பவுமே private தான். Closely held. அதுக்காக தான் பேர் வந்து closely. We'll go for the statutory provisions. You have to strictly follow Chapter 5, the Companies Act 2013, from Section 73 to 76. Just 4 sections, 73, 74, 75 and 76. What 73 talks about is, it's very clear. It's prohibited to accept the deposits from public. It's prohibited. அப்போ எந்த company prohibited அதெல்லாமே 73 ல பார்க்கலாம். Section 74, you have to go for repayment of deposit because you have accepted the deposit before commencement of this act. Which act? 2013 act means you have to go for repayment of deposit. We'll refer to that provisions in 74 and 75. Yes, you want to defraud means you have to have the penalty levy. So that's the damages for defraud. So sometimes we have this column called as penalty provision. This is called as damages. What's the difference between penalty and damages? I've discussed many times. When we say damages, compensation, so damages and compensation, colloquial. When you say penalty is criminal. This is, when you say damages means, it's civil. It's a civil act. Okay. And 76, acceptance of deposits from public by certain companies. That certain companies will be hereafter termed as eligible companies. Probably look after which companies will be eligible. Okay. Apart from this, this is one set of provision, and the second provision is a very important provision where we'll go for referring the rules containing the acceptance of deposit. This is following from 2014. That's why I said, even though we have the 2013 Act, we are not going to exactly follow 2013 Act. We are going to mainly follow 2014 Act. Okay. For which company is not applicable? See, banking company. Bank ஓட வேலையே என்னதுப்பா? 10 ரூபாய் 100 ரூபாய் நீங்க வந்து சேவிங்ஸ் போடுறதுனா பேங்கோட வேலை. So banking company, NBFCs, if RBI registered, housing finance company, if registered under an NHB Act, and as per the central government and RBI notification. Why RBI is coming over here? எப்பெல்லாம் பணம் வருதோ அப்பெல்லாம் RBI இருக்கும். Be clear. எப்பெல்லாம் பணத்தை பத்தி பேசுறீங்களோ அப்பெல்லாம் RBI. எப்பெல்லாம் வந்து பணம் ஃபாரின் கரன்சில வருதோ அப்பெல்லாம் FEMA, PMLA, what prevention of money laundering, and ED, enforcement director. Everybody will be going. Okay. Yes, please try to understand what we mean by deposit. Follows from Section 2, Clause 31 of Companies Act. Includes very simple colloquial definition is normal deposit. What do you mean by deposit? Any receipt of money. Please highlight is any receipt of money by way of deposit or by loan or in any other form by a company, but does not include such categories of amount as might be prescribed by with consultation with the RBI. Okay. In such means they will be declaring what are those such categories. Okay. Continuing. Not deposits, which are not called as deposits, which are not called as deposits. This is often repeated question. Probably it's actually a 50% of the deposits is covered in this heading only. 50% of the deposits. So probably you may expect this question as what are not deposits. ரொம்ப சிம்பிளா இருக்குல்ல, what are not deposits? Definition வச்சுட்டு 2 லைன் எழுதிறாங்க, 2 பேஜ் எழுதும். Okay, it's actually a lengthy question. Following from not the Companies Act, following from the rules 2, rule 2, sub-rule 1 and clause. Okay. It starts like this. Any amount received from. Okay. Probably it goes like 1, 2. Can you just scroll down and see? Turn over and see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Up to 10 is here. 9 contains another 9A. 10 is here. Then 11, 12, 13. Under 13, how many you have? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D படிச்சதெல்லாம் தெரிஞ்சா நான் இப்படி பாருங்க. Just recall whether you can understand. Okay, A பிறகு B நான் படிச்சிருக்கோம். கரெக்டா தான் இருக்கு. Okay, A to G. Then 14, 15. Then up to 19. Okay, 16, 17, 18, 19 is still here. Can you just have a fast glance? Then I discuss. Yes, please. Just try to understand how it is being presented. Because we are not going to have our own numbering, fancy numbering, like that. Usually we'll go for Roman letters. Especially when we talk about rules, we'll go for Roman letters. Most of the cases we start like A, B, C Act. Companies Act பார்த்தீங்கன்னா A, B, C, D தான் இருக்கும். இந்த மாதிரி Roman letter 1, 2 இதெல்லாமே வந்து probably it will be an explanation or it will be in use. Okay, so just have a glance how it is being presented. We need not go for a word by word meaning because I'm going to discuss. Over a point எப்படி discuss பண்ணிருக்காங்க. Probably if you go for this point number 13, under point number 13, you have how many points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 points are there. Which means under this point 13, the 7 points is going to have some equal nature. Am I right? Another than the point போட்டிருக்காங்க. So you just try to have in this class. Yes, please. This is lengthy. You can go for small grouping. We are checking which are all not deposits. In the category la vanda deposit. Okay. First and second one is related to governments. Okay. First point. If you are receiving any money from central government or state government, or it may be by any other source, but it's guaranteed by central or state government or any other local authority or statutory authority. What do you mean by statutory authority? As per Act of Parliament or Legislature, it's being registered as statutory authority, means you call it a statutory authority. So if you receive any money from these people, you'll be calling this as not a deposit. Okay. First is all Indian government. Okay. Go for the second point related to outside India. Foreign governments, not only foreign governments, foreign or international banks, multilateral financial corporations, that may be International Financial Corporation or ADB Bank. You might have heard of this name, ADB, Asian Development Bank, or Commonwealth Development Corporation and International Bank for Industrial and Financial Reconstruction. If you are receiving any money from these people, it will be called as not a deposit. The list is not yet over. In case we are following with respect to foreign governments and other things and all, it comes under FEMA. Why? Because foreign currency is involved. So in that sense, we have development financial institutions and foreign export credit agencies and foreign collaborators or foreign bodies, corporate foreign citizens, authorities, or what is this PROI? Is person resident outside India. Person resident outside India. Okay. So if you follow as per the FEMA rules and regulations, then this will not be called as deposits. Okay. So first and second is related to government. First is completely Indian side, and second is completely out of India, whereas banks are also included. Okay, banks, multilateral corporations, and other peoples are also included. Other people, persons. Whereas if you go for the third one, is directly related to banks. If you are receiving any loan or facility from a banking company, or we have the State Bank of India or other subsidiary banks, when you say banking company or banking institution, this has to follow this specification. Please highlight. Not all the banks are called as banks here. The banking institutions which are notified by central government under section 51 of the Banking Regulation Act or any other new bank following the definition covered under Section 2 Clause D or Section 2 Clause B of Banking Companies Acquisition and Transfer of Undertakings Act 1970 and 1980 and other cooperative bank as per RBI Act following from Section 2 Clause 2 other second point. Okay, Section 2 Clause B. So not Clause 2, Clause B, second point. If the banking institutions are covered under this category and you are receiving any loan or facility from this banking institution or SBI or subsidiary bank, then it will not be treated as deposit. Okay. Yes. Shall I go for the fourth one? Fourth one. Equal to banks, we have other persons. Whom do we call as public financial institutions? Like financial institutions support பண்றாங்க. It's not only bank they are supporting. So in that case, if you are receiving any loan or financial assistance from the public financial institutions, and that public financial institution should be notified by central government and RBI. அப்படின்னா இந்த சென்ட்ரல் கவர்மெண்ட் ஆர்பிஐ வந்து இங்கெல்லாம் கம்பெனிக்கு வந்து லோன் தரலாம் ஃபினான்ஷியல் அசிஸ்டன்ஸ் தரலாம்னு சொல்லியிருப்பாங்கல்ல அந்த மாதிரி இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்ஸ் தான் கவர் ஆகும் ஓகே அண்ட் RFI so related to financial reserves or and insurance companies and scheduled banks as per RBI Act. Then this will not be treated as deposit. So till here banks over. Now come for other categories. Issue of commercial papers or instruments as per RBI guidelines. Okay, what do you mean by commercial papers and other instruments? Okay, related, see on behalf of government, central government, RBI is issuing some promissory notes and all right. So that's covered under commercial papers and instrument and this being issued means it will not be covered under deposit. Fifth point. Sixth point, intercorporate loans, company to company. By a company from another company. I am a company, you are a company, you are receiving money from me or I am receiving money from you. Okay, it's intercorporate loans. In that case, it will not be covered. Sixth point. Seventh point, yes, please highlight often repeated, especially for CA. You might be receiving this practical question. Okay. In the company, வந்து share issue பண்ணிச்சு அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு practical question வரும். Towards subscription of shares, how you know this amount? You'll open an account called as share application money open. You remember? You'll pass in entry, you might have opened this. So you are receiving any advance, okay, relating to the share application money and the allotted spending, okay, if not allotted within 30, 60 days and it should be refunded within 15 days from 60 days. You remember? If this is the date of application money, okay, we have discussed in the share capital points and all. Within 60 days, what do you have to do? You have to go for allotment. Okay. And from this date, within 15 days, you have to go for, in case you are not allotting it, you have to go for refund. Okay, this is the provision. So you are receiving any money towards subscription of shares and you have put this in a separate escrow account. What is that account name called as? Share application money account. And you have to treat this as, you are treating this as advance when ஒரு அமௌண்ட் அட்வான்ஸ் ட்ரீட் பண்ண முடியாது இந்த அமௌண்ட் எதுக்காக கலெக்ட் பண்றீங்க ஷேர் அப்ளிகேஷன் கலெக்ட் பண்றீங்கன்னா அது எஸ்க்ரோ அக்கௌண்ட்ல இருக்கு யூ cannot treat it as advance when you are treating this as advance if the allotment is pending when you say this is pending you are not allotting within 60 days and you have to go for refunding within 15 days you are not done then you have to treat this as advance and why you are having this money adjustment for other purpose you should not be treated as refund okay in this case you should not consider this as deposit Eighth person, you're receiving money from any person. Who is that person? He's a director of my company. என் டைரக்டர் கிட்ட தான் பணம் வாங்கினேன் அப்படின்னா அந்த டெபாசிட்டா இல்லைன்னு கன்சிடர் பண்ணுங்கன்னு சொல்றாங்க. Not only director, relative of a director, whom do you call as a relative? There is a lengthy provision, probably family and relative. That's a particular section you have to follow. So relative in general, we can say that related party transaction la cover ஆகிறதெல்லாம் ஆகும். இல்லைன்னா we can say wife, spouse, son, daughter, they are all become. Provided, please highlight provided. Declaration to the company is given. Okay, probably let me go for a small example. You may expect this as a practical question. Mr. X is a director of the company. Okay, he's a director of the company. அவரோட ஓன் பர்சனல் சேவிங்ஸ் அக்கௌண்ட்ல இருந்து ஒரு 10 lakh rupees வந்து என்ன பண்றாருன்னா கம்பெனிக்கு கொடுக்குறாரு. இது லோனா ஆர் டெபாசிட்டா? யூஸ்வலா பணம் உள்ள வரும். Apart from the equity shares or preference shares, he is receiving either as loan or what? Deposit. பணம் உள்ள வந்துச்சுனாலே லோன் எடுத்துக்க கூடாது. பணம் உள்ள வந்துச்சுனாலே டெபாசிட் எடுக்க கூடாது. Okay, you have to check whether this is loan or deposit. Let us check over here. Provided, which means what? If you are receiving any money from the director, you should not treat this as deposit. Other question. Provided another restricted condition. Is restricted, which means this person, Mr. X, is giving a declaration to the company as what? Is not considered as loans or deposit if he has been giving from others. Okay, which means what? He is not giving from others. 10 லட்சம் ரூபாய் கம்பெனிக்கு வேணும். நான் என்ன பண்றேன்? என்னோட ரிலேட்டிவ் கிட்ட இருந்தோ வாங்கி இல்லைன்னா நான் கடன் வாங்கியோ நான் பேங்க்குக்கு தரேன். சாரி, கம்பெனிக்கு தரேன். என்னோட சேவிங்ஸ்ல இருந்து தரலாம். Okay, that's considered as loan. If I am borrowing from the company, sorry, from any other bank and giving to the company means it's considered as deposit. So what it says, declaration has to be given as what? I'm not getting any loans or deposit from others. And it has to be disclosed in both report. Okay, probably. Let me go for two amounts. Okay, one amount is 10 lakh rupee. This is from his personal savings account. Bank lo tani account vechittirukkaru. Personal savings account. And another 5 lakh rupees where he borrowed as a loan from bank. Which bank? Some SBI bank or something like that. It's a personal loan he has borrowed. Both together 15 lakhs he is depositing or he is giving to the company. Why? Company needs money. The company, private company, it's a private company. Private company being started by two persons, X and Y, subscribers. Okay. X is also a director, Y is also a director. Now I'm talking this 15 lakhs from whom? X is giving this 15 lakhs. Now tell me, this is a loan or deposit? See this 10 lakh, from where he is, what's the source of this 10 lakh for him? It is his own savings account. So this may be considered as loan. But what about this 5 lakhs? He has borrowed from the bank. So you should not consider this as loan. This should be considered as deposit. இப்போ நாங்க எப்படி நம்புவோம்? ரெண்டுமே அவரோட சேவிங்ஸ் அக்கௌண்ட்ல தான் நடக்குது. 15 lakhs ஒரே அக்கௌண்ட்ல இருக்கு. How will you know this is 10 lakhs is his own personal savings and 5 lakhs is from the loan borrowed? Will not know. Okay. So what he has to do is he has to give a declaration. He has to say that this 10 lakhs is my own savings account. I have not borrowed from anybody and I'm giving this to the company and this has to be disclosed to the board. If not given as a declaration means this full 15 lakhs will be considered as deposit. Okay, right? ஏன் இவ்வளோ கஷ்டப்பட்டு படிக்கணும் அது? எப்படி இருந்தாலும் கம்பெனி டைரக்டர் தான் தராங்க. டைரக்டர் மோர் ஓவர் இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் த மெயின் மெம்பர் ஆஃப் தி கம்பெனி. இஸ் அ சப்ஸ்கிரைபர் ஆஃப் த கம்பெனி. Why we need to worry so much? See, most of the time I have studied this provision, non-repayment of deposits, non-repayment of loan amount, including the interest. The company cannot go for issue of shares or something like that. Okay, so இது எல்லாமே இது வேணும். Deposit is such an important one. Okay, ninth point, not only related to deposits. If I'm receiving any money, not in terms of deposits, not in terms of loan, but I'm naming this as bonds. Bond name or I'm naming this as debentures. Therefore, this debentures I'm creating security called as charges. So in company law terms, we call this as creating charges. This charges can be first charge or pari passu charge. What do you mean by first charge? Okay, probably we are not discussed related to charges provision. What do you mean by charges? Means creating security or a collateral create. I have a BMW car, which is, I mean company, okay, which is 1.4 crores worth. Okay, yeah. For 75 lakhs, I have created a charge already. This is my first charge. I have created a charge already. அப்படின்னா ஏதோ ஒரு கம்பெனி வந்து ஏதோ ஒரு பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் டைம்ல வந்து லோன் பாரோ பண்ணிருக்கு. அதுக்கு செக்யூரிட்டி கிரியேட் பண்ணிட்டு எவ்வளவுக்கு 75 lakhs. Another 25 lakhs is creating a charge. Okay. This is called as first charge. This is called as second charge. Here we are talking about the debentures which is carrying the first charge. Which means what? We are not talking about the second charge. And also, what is this pari passu charge means? Even though the second charge is created in case company divalation. Okay, அப்ப யார் first rights 75 lakhs காக security create பண்ணாலும் அவன் தான் first rights. But if the charge is created as pari passu means both the parties will be getting the equal rights. Okay, probably this charge, first charge, let me change the color for identification. This first charge is created in the year some 2000, okay, some 25 years back. And this charge is created just now, about 2 years back. Okay, இது வந்து 25 years back, இது 2 years back. இப்போ சொல்லுங்க கம்பெனி திவாலேஜ் யார் முதல்ல தரணும்? நீங்க தான் அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சார்ஜ் கிரியேஷனோட டிபென்ச்சர் ஹோல்டர்னு வச்சுக்கலாம். I just created a charge some 2 years ago. What you will say? 25 வருஷமா என் பணத்தை வச்சுதான் ரன் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கான் பிசினஸ். எனக்கு தான் முதல்ல சொல்வீங்களா? நான் என்ன சொல்வேன்? நீ என்ன சொல்லிட்டு போ. திவாலேஜ் கம்பெனி நான் பாரி பாசு கிரியேட் பண்ணிருக்கேன். What is pari passu means? At par. Equal. Equal in all the variations. Which means what? There is no variation. First charge, second charge, equal or equal. இப்போ ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை. வைண்டிங் அப் போகும்போது தான் பிரச்சனை. வைண்டிங் அப் இன்சால்வெண்ட் ஆயிடுச்சு, பணம் இல்ல, பேங்க்ரப்ட் ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா என்ன பண்றது? அப்பதான் ப்ராப்ளம். Okay. So let me start from the beginning. This 9th point. Probably receiving any money in terms of naming this as bonds. Okay. And the heading loan இருக்கணும்னு அவசியம் இல்லை. அந்த ஹெட்டிங் வந்து டெபாசிட் இருக்கணும்னு அவசியம் இல்லை. பட் என்னவா இருக்கு? Bonds இருக்கு. Else debentures. What's the nature of debentures here? Debentures is carrying a security creating first charge or pari passu charge. And you cannot, as it is, you can do it. You have to follow Schedule 3. Excludes intangible assets. Intangible assets are not included. It should not exceed the market value. இப்ப என்ன market value அதை வச்சு பார்க்கணும். And also the bonds and debentures carrying compulsory convertible within 10 years. Carrying this property. என்ன மாதிரியான டிபென்ச்சரா இருக்குது? Compulsory convertible. எப்போக்குள்ள convertible? 10 years குள்ள convertible. What do you mean by compulsory convertible? Within this 10 years, it will be treated as equity shares. Okay, what is compulsory? It should be converted. We have partially convertible and compulsory convertible. So, non-compulsory and compulsory. So, we have this compulsory convertible. It will be definitely converted to equity shares within how much period? 10 years. Okay. With reference to this 9th point, there is an extension of this one rule, sub-rule. Issue of non-convertible debenture is also included, even though no charge is created. But only one important thing, it should be listed in SEBI. Okay, it should be listed in SEBI. Before continuing the other points, what do you mean by listing? What do you mean by listing? Okay, we have gone for types of companies, right? We have different types of companies. One variation is listed and non-listed company. What do you mean by listed company and non-listed company? Huh? Registering with SEBI. Okay, actually you call that agreement called as listing agreement. Company and SEBI and NSDL or not NSDL, BSE or NSE is entering with the agreement. Okay, NSE, the stock exchanges. The company will be requesting the stock exchange to list the எனக்கு அந்த வேர்டு வேணும். Usually list the shares சொல்லுவாங்க. கரெக்டா? Listing the shares in NSE or BSE is what you call as listed company. It's actually not so. Probably I may be having, see, you are now strong with company law. Okay. அப்படியே இருந்தாலும் கேட்காதீங்க. Definitely you are strong with company law because நான் என்ன சொன்னாலும் உங்களுக்கு புரியுது. Okay. So please try to understand. My company is having Class A share, Class B share, Class C share, debentures. And also preference share. இப்படி வச்சுக்கலாம். Class A, equity share. Class B, equity share. Class C, equity share. Preference share and debentures. Okay. Non-convertible or convertible, whatever it is. I'm entering into this tripartite agreement. What do you mean by tripartite? Company is requesting the stock exchange to list the securities. And when you go for the listing agreement, you have to strictly follow the SEBI's regulation. பை டிஃபால்ட்டா செபி வந்துடும். யூஸ்வலா ஒரு கான்ட்ராக்ட் அக்ரிமெண்ட்னா 2 பேரும் தான் போதும். இதோட பேரே ட்ரைபார்டைட். ட்ரைபார்டைட். TRIPARTIT. 3 parties. Okay. Who are the 3 parties? Company, stock exchange, and SEBI. So once you're listed means SEBI will ask what are the questions it has. எல்லாருக்கும் ஆன்சர் பண்ணணும். இதெல்லாம் பண்ணணும்னு சொல்ல பண்ணணும். ஓகே. இப்போ எத்தனை வெரைட்டி ஆஃப் இது இருக்கு? கிளாஸ் A, கிளாஸ் B, கிளாஸ் C or all equity. Apart from this, preference and debentures. I need not list everything. I will list only class A, preference and debentures. If possible, because I don't want to deviate much from this concept, not if possible, please try to check for this L&T shares where you have equity shares and also you have L&T debentures. L&T company equity shares list பண்ணிருக்கோம். Apart from equity debentures list பண்ணிருக்கோம். Okay. Now come for this 9th point. What does this 9th point says? Issue of non-convertible debentures and no charges created. Which means what? No security for the debentures. Okay. Non-convertible, no charges created. We have to treat this as depositor? No. But what? It has to be listed as per the SEBI norms. You can list L&T equity shares. L&T equity shares list பண்ணிருக்கனால L&T ஓட debentures list பண்ணிருக்கணும்னு அவசியம் இல்ல. Please try to understand. Am I right? Equity shares listed means debentures need not be listed. So you have to check whether this non-convertible debentures are listed with SEBI or listed in stock exchanges or not. If it is not listed in stock exchanges, you need not worry. If it is listed in stock exchanges, then you do not consider this as deposit. Okay. Check whether this is followed. 9A. Non-convertible debentures, no charge created. What is the condition? First condition. The debentures should be natured. Non-convertible. இதான் லிஸ்ட் நீங்க செக் பண்ணணும். ஏன்னா எக்ஸாம்ல இப்படிதான் நீங்க செக் பண்ண வேண்டியிருக்கும். செகண்ட் என்னது? No charge created. No issues. No worries. You check whether it's listed in SEBI. Not the company is listed. Debentures are listed on பாருங்க. Listed on பாருங்க. Listed na இருந்ததுன்னா then don't consider this as deposit. If not listed na, see, logic is very simple. In the tripartite agreement வந்துச்சுன்னா SEBI இருக்க அவன் பார்த்துப்பான். SEBI ஓட preamble பாத்தீங்கன்னா இன்வெஸ்டரை ப்ரொடெக்ட் பண்ணுது. இன்வெஸ்டர்ஸ் வந்து அவ்வளவு பணத்தை போட்டு க்ரோஸ் கணக்குல போட்டு நிம்மதியா தூங்க முடியும்னா பிகாஸ் SEBI is. ஓகே. எப்பயாவது வந்து நீங்க தூங்கும் போது ப்ரொடெக்டடா ஃபீல் பண்ணிருக்கீங்களா? எப்போ ஃபீல் பண்ணுவீங்க? சிங்கர்களை தூங்க சொன்னா தூங்கலாமா வேண்டாமா இவங்க எழுப்பிடுவாங்களா? இதே உங்க வீட்டுல தூங்கினா எழுப்பினா திட்டுவீங்க பேரண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம். See, when you feel protected, you'll get a good sleep. Likewise, investors completely investing their money, their hard-earned money in a company. அப்போ இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணும்போது நான் நிம்மதியா தூங்கணும்ல. திடீர்னு குண்டு போடுறாங்க. அப்ப என்ன நினைப்பீங்க? போச்சுடா பணம். See, மொத்த கம்பெனிக்கும் போனா பரவாயில்ல. என் கம்பெனி மட்டும் என் தலை மட்டும் குண்டு போடுவாங்களா? So I need to check. இப்போ நீங்க செக் பண்ண வேண்டாம். SEBI is there. So if it is listed, SEBI is there. No worry. If it is not listed, ஐயோ என்னாச்சுன்னு தெரியலையே. நாளைக்கு பெரிய கூட்டாத விஷயம் என்ன பண்றது? See, what happens is if it is listed means SEBI is there to take care. So you need not worry. If it is not listed means it's considered as deposit. If it is considered as deposit, it's mandated for the company to submit a form to give all the details regarding the deposit. அப்போ எப்படி இருந்தாலும் SEBI போகலனாலும் யாருக்கு போயிடும்? MCA போயிடும். ஃபார்ம் ஃபில் பண்ணிச்சுன்னா அது MCA தானே ஃபைல் பண்றாங்க. Register of companies போயிடும். That's right. Okay. So can you please go through till here till 9E. 10th point. Earlier point, the before point was with respect to a director giving money. Now, not a director exceeding his annual salary means don't consider as deposit. There's one employee, Mr. Y. He is receiving 1 lakh salary. Okay, about 12 months ago, 12 lakhs. He is giving a part of money, probably or a 7.5 lakhs on the company. Is the depositor? No. In case he is giving 12.11 lakhs, this should be considered as deposits. See, employee giving money, how much he can give, not exceeding his annual salary. See, when you say employee, we have this condition. Employee work money. You should not go any other person. Okay, there is one employee and one employee concept. In case if you talk about double employment and double shift work also, there should be mainly one employer and one employee concept. Okay. So in that case, not exceeding his annual salary is not treated as deposit. If it exceeds annual salary, it will be treated as deposit. So what do you mean by annual salary? The taxation concept discuss பண்ண வேண்டாம். As per the contract of employment will be defined like எவ்வளவு monthly per annum எவ்வளவு தருவாங்கன்ட்டு. So that will be considered as monthly. Okay, annual salary. Next point, 11th point, non-interest bearing deposit, security deposit. You need not consider as deposit, non-interest. Okay. 12th point, non-interest bearing amount received and held in trust. You need not consider as deposit. Trust to hold money. So that's up to 12th point. And this 13th point is obviously an important point. Obviously, you are a company. Why a company is formed? To do business and to take profit. Okay, this is the main character of a business. You're doing the business. Okay. See, sometimes we'll be finding the star marks, sometimes we'll not be finding. See, for C point or not, we don't have. What do you mean by the star mark means? Sometimes we'll be refunding it without interest. இந்த வேலையை நான் 6 மாசத்துக்குள்ள முடிக்கிறேங்க, முடிக்கலன்னா ரீஃபண்ட் பண்ணிடுறேன். Please try to understand. Okay. So refunding without interest. And there should be some proper permission for goods and services receipt. Just think in this angle. You're doing the business and you have taken an advance. Advance for what? Business la edhukku advance vaங்குவீங்க? இந்த goods நான் கொடுத்துறேன். I'll supply the goods. Or I will provide the service. We have taken the advance means it is your business. You cannot prolong it. You have to appropriate within 365 days. Okay. அப்படின்னா அது 1 year. Actually 1 year போட மாட்டோம். 365 days 365 days தான் போடுவோம். Within 365 days, what you have done? You might have completed the service. If not completed, சும்மா இருப்பீங்களா நீங்க? நான் தான் கம்பெனி சர்வீஸ் ப்ரொவைட் பண்ண சொல்லிட்டேன், சும்மா இருப்பீங்களா? நான் கேஸ் போடலாம். பண்ணல, கேஸ் போட்டீங்க. கேஸ் போட்டா அந்த ப்ரொவிஷன் அப்ளிகபிள் ஆகாது. நாட் அப்ளிகபிள் if legal proceedings are good. Okay, let me repeat it. Please join. This follows under this first point follows under start. Okay, you are doing a business. Okay, you have received an advance amount for what purpose? For your business purpose, either supply of goods or provision of service, and you have to appropriate within 365 days. You have appropriated. See, appropriated, and there is no legal proceedings means then it's not considered as deposit. ஏன்னா business பண்ணணும் 365 daysல நீங்க க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிட்டீங்க, அப்புறம் என்ன ஸ்மூத்தா தான் போயிட்டு இருக்கு. And legal proceedings எதுவுமே இருந்துட கூடாது. Okay, probably நடுவில் ஏதாவது கேஸ் போட்டிருந்தாங்கன்னா வராது. Okay. Second, you have received an advance. Okay. For what? For related to immovable property, for some sale or something like that. And you have entered an agreement or particular arrangement in this behalf for lease or something like that. And it is provided as adjusted. Now, it is not considered as deposit. Where ஏதோ ஒரு adjust பண்ணிக்கிறேன் அப்படின்னு சொன்னா it's not considered as deposit. C point is not under star mark. Okay. You have received any security deposit for the performance of the contract related to goods or services. You usually have this concept called as receiving this deposit. அவன் வந்து வேலையை பண்ணலன்னா ஒரு பணத்தை நான் கொடுத்து வைக்கிறேன். இந்த பெயில்மெண்ட்டுக்கு எல்லாம் கொடுப்போம்ல அந்த மாதிரி, பெயில் எடுக்கும் போது செக்யூரிட்டி கொடுப்போம்ல அந்த மாதிரி கொடுத்து வைப்போம். Okay, I'm constructing a building. Okay, just remember like this. I'm constructing a building. There is a construction company who I'm relying, but I don't have 100% reliability. எப்படி பண்ணுவான்ட்டு. My friend X, he says, definitely நல்லா பண்ணுவாங்க. அப்போ ஏதாவது ப்ராப்ளம்னா நீ டேமேஜஸ் பே பண்ண. அப்ப கேட்க முடியுமா? இப்பயே செக்யூரிட்டி டெபாசிட் வாங்கி வச்சு. So security deposit for what? Not doing the business. If not performing, I'll be collecting it. So this is for performance of the contract that may be related to goods or services. D point, you are receiving any advance for a long-term project which will be considered as capital goods. You're constructing a building or constructing a bridge or something like that. Okay, long-term projects பண்றீங்க. Except B வராது. ஏன்னா immovable property is also considered as long-term தான். But இதுல வராது. Okay, bridge, canals அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கு. E point, you are receiving advance. இங்கெல்லாம் நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா advance deposit இப்படிதான் இருக்கும். ஏன்னா அப்பப்போ பேமெண்ட் பண்றது எல்லாமே will not consider. அப்போ பேமெண்ட் பண்றதா அது கேஷ் சேல்ஸ்ல போயிடும்ல. Cash sales are not liquid cash I'm talking about. Okay. So advance for future services, yes, completely different point. Advance for future services, அதே future services வருமான்னு தெரியல, வாரண்டி பீரியட்ல இருக்கு, கவர் ஆச்சுன்னா நாங்க பண்ணுவோம். Or some AMC சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா, annual maintenance charges of contract will be there. So related to any maintenance contract, it should be a return agreement. Please highlight this word, not oral. It should be a return agreement or any arrangement. And the period has to be considered whichever is lower of common parlance or 5 years. ஒரு சிலது இருக்கும் 2 years, 3 years. If not mentioned now, common parlance, what is considered is usually 5 years. Whichever is lesser, you have to consider. F point, you are receiving any advance, either received or allowed by a sectoral regulator, okay, like SEBI or solar subsidy எல்லாம் வருது இல்லையா அந்த மாதிரி கேசஸ்ல central government or SEBI government registered sectoral regulator. G point, you are receiving a money advance towards subscription of publication. Okay, you're publishing any documents or something like that, any magazines or something like that, either in printed form, hard copy form, or mail form, electronic form. So, if you are receiving advance in this case, it will not be considered as deposit. இதெல்லாம் related to business. If anything falls outside the scope now, it will be considered as deposit. Within this points now, it's not considered as deposit. ஏன்னா heading என்னது rule 2(1)(c), not a deposit தான் பார்த்துட்டு. அப்போ இந்த G பாயிண்ட்ல ஏதாவது ஒரு பாயிண்ட் வந்துச்சு, பிசினஸ் பண்ணி ஏதாவது ஒரு பாயிண்ட் வந்துச்சுன்னா அது என்னது டெபாசிட்ல வரக்கூடாது. ஏன்னா பிசினஸ். Most of the time, this is the repeated question. The first point, advance with respect to what? Received with respect to supply of goods or provision, appropriated within 365 days. Not a deposit. Appropriated not within 365 days. It's considered as deposit. But you have to check this legal proceeding. Legal proceedings போயிட்டு இருக்கா என்னன்னு check. Okay. Let me continue. Let me finish off these other headings. 14th point, you are receiving money from promoters. And the promoters are giving a unsecured loan. What do you mean by unsecured loan? No security created. Most of the time, promoters கிட்ட வரதெல்லாம் unsecured loan தான். ஏன்னா promoters அவங்க தான company form பண்ணாங்க. Okay. And if the lender happens to be a financial company, that is financial institution or banks means, you have to check whether these conditions are followed. If these conditions are followed, then don't consider this as a deposit. What are the conditions? Brought in by stipulation. Another condition based on stipulation based on info. Need not be promoters alone. It can be promoters and their relatives also. And it's exempted until repayment. So in these cases, don't consider as deposit. And yes, 15th point, Nidhi company follows from section 406 of the Companies Act. The following money is considered as deposits. Please highlight. This A point and B point says is considered as deposit unless specifically excluded. Okay, specifically excluded means what? It should be completely returned or specification expressive they are excluded. Amount received by a company by way of installments, otherwise by way of promise or offer to return something in cash or any kind on completion of the period. Okay, or additional contribution. Okay, apart from this, some additional contribution is made by the company. Okay, so this is 2 point to be noted. Section 16, sorry, Rule 16, Sub-Rule 16, subscription of chit funds actல வந்து chit fund company start பண்ணாங்க. நீங்க subscribe பண்றீங்களா, பணம் போடுறீங்களா? So it will not be considered as deposit. You have this scheme called as collective investment scheme. Okay, collective investment scheme. The somewhat, if you don't have the scheme regulated by SEBI, it will be somewhat treated as deposit now. இந்த இதெல்லாம் பண்ணிருக்கீங்களா? During this Diwali season or other festive seasons, they'll be collecting that monthly chits and probably 11 months collect பண்ணுவாங்க. 11 months முடிஞ்ச பிறகு they will give all the crackers, sweets and some gifts or something and all they'll be providing. Okay. அந்த மாதிரி வந்து என்ன பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா collective investment scheme சொல்லிட்டு unregulated பண்ணுவாங்க. பண்ணிருக்காங்களா உங்க ஏரியா லோக்கல் ஏரியானுங்க? 100 ரூபாய் கலெக்ட் பண்ணிப்பாங்க. Okay. How much you get at the end of this 1 month before Diwali for 11 months? 11,100, sorry, 1100, 1,100 you get. 1,100 crackers sweets கொடுத்துருவாங்க. ஒரு சாரி கொடுத்துருவாங்க. பண்ணிருக்காங்க லோக்கல்ல பண்ணுவாங்க. ஓகே, இது லோக்கல்ல தான் பண்ண முடியும். இட்ஸ் அன்ரெகுலேட். எல்ஸ் இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் பெட்டரா அப்படின்னா 1,000 rupees will be collected. அப்ப எவ்வளவு கிடைக்கும்? 11,000 at the end of 11 months. ஏன்னா 12 months calculation வராது. ஏன்னா 12 months will be the Diwali month. Usually this will be done for Diwali or the October Ayudha Puja. இதுக்காக தான் பண்ணுவாங்க. எஸ்பெஷலி ஆயுத பூஜா பண்றவங்க வந்து இந்த சின்ன சின்ன பிசினஸ் ரன் பண்றாங்கல்ல, அவங்களுக்கு சுண்ணாம்பு செலவு, ஒயிட் வாஷ் எல்லாம் பண்ணணும், அதுக்காக செலவு பண்ணுவாங்க. இல்லைன்னா தீபாவளிக்காக வந்து இந்த ஃபேமிலிக்கு ட்ரெஸ் வாங்கணும், they need to go for small savings. அந்த டைம்ல கிராக்கர்ஸ் எல்லாம் வாங்க முடியாது, அதுக்காக பண்ணுவாங்க. சம்டைம்ஸ் தீபாவளி போனஸ் கொடுத்துருவாங்க, அதோட பிரச்சனை இல்லை. போனஸ் எல்லாம் ரிசீவ் பண்ணாதவங்க, so you are receiving this 11,000 na they'll be giving crackers, sweets, அப்புறம் சின்ன கோல்ட் காயின். ஒரு பணத்தை கொடுங்க, தீபாவளிக்கு முன்னாடி மாசம் நான் கொடுக்குறேன்னு சொல்லி எஸ்கேப் ஆயிட்டேன்னா ஆகலாங்க. நிறைய பேர் ஆயிருக்காங்க. இந்த மாதிரி எஸ்கேப் ஆயிடுவாங்க. க்ரோஸ் கணக்குல வாங்கிட்டு எஸ்கேப் ஆகுறாங்க. ரீசென்ட்லி I think I have discussed this case. One Kerala couples. They started so many companies and they escaped. சொன்னா ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? வேற எங்கேயோ போய் செட்டில் ஆயிட்டாங்க. செட்டில் ஆயிட்டு they were working in a restaurant, hotel. Again, husband wife-ஆவே ஒர்க் பண்ணாங்க. மாட்டிக்கிட்டாங்க. Okay. See, what I'm trying to say here is, if something is unregulated means the investors are not protected. நீங்க தான் பணம் போட்டிருக்கீங்க என்கிட்ட. நான் ஓடி போயிட்டேன்னா உங்க பணம் கேட்கறதுக்கு ஆள் இல்லையே. நீங்க வந்து கம்ப்ளைண்ட் குடுப்பீங்க. என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க? போலீஸ் ஸ்டேஷன்ல போய் கம்ப்ளைண்ட் தருவீங்க அவ்வளவுதான். அவங்க என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க? என்ன தேடி பிடிப்பாங்க. நான் எஸ்கேப் ஆயிட்டேன்னா, என்ன பிடிக்கவே முடியலன்னா, ஓகே, ஐ அம் ஹாப்பி. வாட் அபௌட் யூ? போலீஸ் பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இந்த கேஸ் வந்து அவ்வளவுதான், நாட் க்ளோஸ்ட். உங்களோட நிலைமை, ஈச் அண்ட் எவ்ரி மந்த் யூ ஹேவ் கிவன் திஸ் மணி ரைட் ஆஸ் அ சேவிங்ஸ். நீங்க பேங்க்ல போட்டு வந்திருக்கலாம். பட் என்ன ஆசை? என்கிட்ட கொடுத்தா நான் கிராக்கர்ஸ் கொடுப்பேன், ஸ்வீட் கொடுப்பேன், கோல்டு காயின் கொடுப்பேன், டெப் பண்ணுவேன். அப்போ இதெல்லாம் அன்ரெகுலேட்டடா இருக்குல்ல. இதெல்லாம் என்ன பண்ணிட்டாங்கன்னா, அன்ரெகுலேட்டடா இருக்கக்கூடாது, ரெகுலேட்டடா இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு செபி வந்து ஒரு ஸ்கீம் இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்ணிச்சு. தட் ஸ்கீம் இஸ் வாட் யூ கால் அஸ் த கலெக்டிவ் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் ஸ்கீம். இன் ஷார்ட், இட்ஸ் ஃபேமஸ்லி கால்ட் அஸ் சிஐஎஸ். ஆல்மோஸ்ட் ஆல் த ப்ரொஃபஷனல்ஸ் நீங்க ஆயிட்டீங்கன்னா இந்த சிஐஎஸ் ஸ்கீம் ஆஸ் பர் செபினா எல்லாருக்குமே தெரியும். கலெக்டிவ் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் ஸ்கீம். The company is receiving money and the company is having the scheme called as collective investment scheme. It is regulated by SEBI. அப்போ எதுக்கு அதை டெபாசிட்ல கொண்டு வரீங்க? Please try to understand. Is already regulated by a statutory authority, SEBI. Why you need to regulate in terms of deposits? Need not. So it's not treated as deposit. Okay. Next point. If it is a startup company, okay, and it is issuing a note, it's called as a convertible note. Usually we'll say convertible, it's convertible to equity. Okay. The share warrant, the stock warrant, okay, to equity, or it will be repaying in 10 years. Okay, it's not issuing equity shares. It is not issuing debentures. It's a startup company. But what's it doing? It's issuing a note, or a promissory note, madri, or a note. And the note பத்தி என்ன மாதிரியான நேச்சர் இருக்கும்? What's the feature? It's a convertible. Convertible, either convertible to equity. If it is not convertible, named as convertible தான். நீங்க ஈக்விட்டியா கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம், இல்லைன்னா என்ன பண்ணிடணும்? Repayable in 10 years. And what is the amount involved? 25 lakhs or more in single stamps, not in installments. ஒரு நோட் 25 lakh rupees minimum இருக்கும். அந்த மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னா you need not consider this as deposit. Okay? Because it's regulated. See, startup company means it's a private company, it's recognized by this DPIIT. And a convertible note means instrument evidencing receipt of money initially as debt convertible to equity shares of startup. It's understood. Convertible note, everybody understands. Okay? And then this last point. Any amount, either you're receiving as alternate investment fund, or you're receiving as domestic venture capital fund, or you're receiving as infrastructure investment trust, or real estate investment trust, or mutual funds. The mutual fund should be registered with SEBI. Don't consider as deposit. ஏன்னா இதுக்கு எல்லாமே பர்டிகுலரா தனி லாஸ் ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸ் இருக்கு. அப்ப தனி லாஸ் அண்ட் ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸ் இருக்குன்னா அவங்கவுங்க பாத்துப்பாங்க. இதுல டெபாசிட் காமிக்கலாம். Is it okay? So all these 19 points is let me continue. Tenure, you can get money from outsiders minimum for 8 months, maximum only up to 36 months. கைமாத்தா வாங்குங்க, but 6 months நீங்க கையில வச்சுக்கணும். Okay. So 6 months to 36 months. Exception. See, you borrowed the money for some 8 months. No, you borrow the money for 8 months. Tentatively, you need a small amount, not for a major investment, for some small adjustment regarding. So you bought a loan for how many months? Just 8 months. After a 3 months period, you just got a good amount of the quarterly results have arrived and you got a good amount of money. Why you need to pay the interest money for another 5 months? கம்பெனிக்கு இது யாரோட பணம்? அவுட்சைடர்ஸ் இல்ல, லைக் ஷேர் ஹோல்டர்ஸோட பணம். அவங்களோட பணத்தை வச்சு ஏன் விளையாடணுமா? not necessary. So, if you want to go for foreclosure means as per the period mentioned, you want to close before the time. In that case, yes, you can close, but at least you need to have it for 3 months. Okay. Exception, please note this point. Earlier than 6 months, you can replace, Anna. Yes, you can replace, but not, it's not okay. But not repayable earlier than 3 months. I borrowed money in the month of Jan. Okay. Jan full month over. February, probably at the end of Feb, I received the amount from the other source. I, in the sense, I'm talking about the company has received the amount from other source. இப்போ எதுக்கு தேவையில்லாம ரேட் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் கட்டிட்டு இருக்கணும் அப்படின்ட்டு க்ளோஸ் பண்ணலாமா பண்ணக்கூடாதுன்னு லா சொல்லுது. See, not repayable earlier than 3 months. At least 3 months you have to move it. See, the logic is very simple. You're not planning for big investment and all. You're planning for a small rotation amount in your hand. இவ்வளோ பெரிய கம்பெனி ரன் பண்றீங்க ஒரு 3 மாசத்துக்கு இவ்வளவு அமௌண்ட் தேவைன்னு கூட உங்களுக்கு தெரியாதா? So at least hold the money for 3 months. Then you can repay it. Even though you borrowed for minimum 6 months, you can repay it. How many payments we have to have it? At least for 3 months. Okay. So for what purpose we do this is for meeting short-term requirements. Sometimes we accept and renew not more than 10% of the paid up share capital plus free reserves plus securities premium. Usually when you go for borrowing related terms, we usually go for this percent. 10% of paid up share capital, free reserves and securities premium. Here, if you're buying shares in the company, you'll be called as a shareholder. Debentures mean debenture holder. Here, you'll be called as depositor or deposit holder, who will be called as a member because he has deposited here. Okay, any person who has deposited. Please highlight this table, acceptance limit. How much a company can accept as deposit. Here, deposit means not the current deposit I'm going to receive. I have to talk about the earlier deposit also received. So, outstanding also has to be included. We are defining the company has eligible company and non-eligible company and how much amount it can receive. Acceptance limit, percentage of, already we have seen, paid up share capital, both equity and preference. Paid up share capital, free reserves and equity, securities premium. Who's this eligible company? Probably you can scroll down, you can find it over here. This company is called as an eligible company, which is nothing but a public company having a net worth at least not less than at least 100 crores, turnover not less than at least 500 crores. Priorly, which means what? Before itself, it has got a special resolution passed in the general meeting. Okay. And not only that, it has filed with ROC before inviting it from the public. Or if the limit specified here is within the limits, like 10% and all we'll discuss here. So it is within the limits means ordinary resolution is sufficient. If you're exceeding this means you need to have a special resolution. So எப்படி இருந்தாலும் நீங்க outside கிட்ட இருந்து பணம் வாங்கணும்னா you have to get the permission from the shareholders. The meetings passed. Okay. So this is what you call as a eligible company. So if you are an eligible company, then from the members, how much you can accept? 10%. Okay. From the public, how much you can accept? 25%. If you are not an eligible company, then from the members you can accept 35%. From the public, it's prohibited. For example, if you go for private company, eligible company la first condition another public company சொல்லிருக்காங்களா? So what's mentioned here? For a company to be eligible company, first of all, it should be a public company. So when you say it's a private company, it will come directly, it will fall under this non-eligible case. So if it is a non-company, members can be prohibited, public can just ulta 35%. So overall, if you count these two values, how much you get? 35%, 35%, and 35%. It depends on from whom which you are collecting 10% or 25%, 35%, and 30%. Okay. This is not applicable for IFC's private company not exceeding 100% and they have to file a form in the name called as DPT3. For which company these applications or these norms are not eligible is for a private company having a startup for 10 years from the date of incorporation and it should not be an associate or subsidiary or having borrowings from banks or financial institutions or body corporate less than whichever is lower of 2%, 2 times of paid up share capital or 50 crores, whichever is lesser or see the C point. No default in repayment of borrowings subsisting at the end of acceptance of wherever borrowings வாங்கியிருந்தா அதில் ஏதாவது default இருக்கக்கூடாது. Which means I have borrowed for some 5 years. I have repaid the interest amount correct. Okay. In case it is over and it is now 7 years, which means you have made a default in principal and also interest. Okay, so no default has to be made in terms of bonds. Okay, yeah, so these companies are not eligible. Is it okay? This type of private companies are not eligible. Let me continue. Usually, when you go for acceptance of deposit, first thing what you do, you hold a board meeting. Okay, if it happens to be an eligible company, you have to pass a special resolution or general resolution. Then you go for holding a general meeting. So, acceptance of deposit from members, you go for private and other company also. Whereas for public means it has to be an eligible company. So, we'll go for from members category. What you have to do? You have to pass a resolution in the general meeting. We have to consult with RBI because money is coming inside. So you have to consult with RBI and RBI conditions also. You have to give a circular. So what you actually call as prospectus, right? You have to give a circular. That circular will be done in DPT one form. Okay, CMA inter students kindly aware of this numberings, form numberings. Okay, it's quite important. What that circular will contain? It will give you the financial position of the company, credit rating, so how far is eligible or how far is capable of returning the money promptly, total number of depositors available so far, previous deposit dues if any, and other particulars. Apart from this, you have to file to the registrar within 30 days before the date of the issue. Before the date of the issue, often repeated. எப்பவுமே ஆஃப்டர் த டேட்னு நினைச்சுப்பாங்க இல்ல இதெல்லாமே வந்து இஷ்யூ பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி பண்ண வேண்டிய ப்ராசஸ் பிஃபோர் த டேட் ஆஃப் இஷ்யூ. You have to create a DRR called as debenture, sorry, not debenture, deposit redemption reserve. Deposit, okay, redeem பண்றதுக்காக reserve create பண்ண. Deposit redemption reserve. D point is omitted. E point, you have to get a certification saying that I have not made any default, even if the interest I have paid before or after the commencement of the act. In case if the default is made now, the default is made, but 5 years have elapsed. Okay, which means I have a proper record for the past 5 years. I have no default. See, எல்லா கம்பெனிஸும் வந்து கரெக்டா பணம் கொடுத்துருக்க முடிஞ்சிருக்கணும்னு அவசியம் இல்ல. So probably in case the default has made now, the default correct பண்ணி 5 years ஆயிடும். Okay. Then in case if you have any secure deposits now, the security which means properly created up for deposit amount and also for interest amount, and we have to have clearly the deposit insurance also for them, and a charge should be created in favor of the trustees. Okay, these are all necessary. Furnishing of deposit receipts to depositors follows from Rule 12. So, in the topic, rules of Companies Act of So, simultaneously, we have to travel. Okay. So, it includes agents also. Within 21 days, you have to furnish the deposit receipts. It should be signed by an officer or authorized by board of directors. What are the things you should have in that filing, in the receipts? Date of deposit, paper date. We need to calculate the 36 months and other things and all. Date of deposit, name and address, amount, rate, and rate of interest and periodicity, quarterly or half yearly or monthly, or it usually go for monthly only. If it goes for 36 months, it will go for 3 months, quarterly period. We will not usually call this as quarterly, we'll call it as 3 months and single month only. And repayable date. So when is the due date? Please highlight this point, maintenance of liquid asset and creation of DRR account. You have to maintain liquid asset. In a short time தானே நீங்க பாட்டுக்கு வந்து இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணலாம் மட்டும் அது வளர வரைக்கும் வெயிட் பண்ண முடியாது. You cannot wait for the growth of the investment. Okay, so your specific reserve has to be created. What's this reserve called as? Deposit redemption reserve. So it's called as a specific reserve. You have to deposit not less than 20% in separate bank account. In which bank? Not any bank, like in scheduled bank on or before 30th April of each year. Please highlight this date is important. எவ்வளவு deposit பண்ணும்? At least 20%, not less than 20% means what? At least 20%. Where? In a separate bank account. In which bank? Scheduled bank. When? On or before 30th April of each year. Okay. This is not applicable for private company. So, as we discussed earlier, amount is not exceeding 100% off, or startup availability status is required or applied for 10 years, or is not an associate or subsidiary company, or no borrowings like, and no default is made, no issues. But they have to file a form called as DPT3. இது கொஞ்சம் note பண்ணிக்கோங்க, often repeated. Exemption தானே, not applicable தானே நினைக்காதீங்க. இதுதான் check by form. Private company is not applicable if it is following all these conditions. Not applicable க்காக scrutinisல வரணும்ல, அதனால என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க, DPT3 has to be filed to the register. Okay. Then continuing. Related to specified IFSC public companies, if it is an unlisted company and licensed by RBI or SEBI and as per IRDA, Probably you can follow as per their rules, okay? Probably amount not exceeding 100%, and they have to file DPT3 to the register. This is all related to from members in this category over. Now, in case you are getting deposits from the public, who can receive deposits from the public? Already we have seen only eligible companies can get the deposits from public, and they have to comply this section 73 subsection 2 along with CG and RBI consultation or the notification having form. There should be a rating. This is often asked CMA inter. Please make a note in the topic. Data related questions on the there should be a rating, this credit rating, how far I'm capable to repay the amount. All these ratings will be considered. That rating has to give the details about the net worth of the company, liquidity of the company, and how far is able to repay the amount within the specified period. Okay. And it has to be provided in the invitation to the public. What do you mean by prospectus? And security has to be created. So create charge within 30 days. How much you have to create? Not less than the amount of deposit. At least amount. If you are asking for the deposit of 25 lakhs, means at least 25 lakhs charge creating, not less than. Okay. Tenure already we have discussed 6 months to 36 months. Probably the நீங்க strike out பண்ணாம நீலாம் அங்கேயே நம்ம discuss பண்ணிட்டோம். Rate of interest or payment of brokerage. Actually, for NBFCs, RBI is stating a prescribed maximum rate and you should not exceed this rate. உங்களுக்கு என்ன ரேட் வந்து அவங்களுக்கு பிரிஸ்கிரைப் பண்றாங்களோ அந்த மேக்ஸிமம் ரேட் வரைக்கும் வச்சுக்கணும். 7% சொன்னாங்கன்னா மேக்ஸிமம் 7% வச்சுக்கலாம். 7% கம்பெனிக்கு சொல்லல, எதுக்கு சொல்லியிருக்காங்க? நான் பேங்கிங் ஃபினான்ஷியல் கம்பெனிஸ்க்காக சொல்லியிருப்பாங்க. Types of deposits can be secured or unsecured, payable on demand or payable on notice. What do you mean by payable on demand and notice? Probably you might be aware, but still I'm trying to recall. Payable on demand means கொண்டு போய் கொடுத்தா உடனே தருது. Payable on notice means only after like applying like something like that, you have to give a notice, then only you can get them. If it can be in joint names, maximum 3 persons jointly can deposit in that company. So maximum 3 names. Clauses are not mandatory. Either you can have as jointly or either or surveyor or first named or surveyor or anyone or surveyor. These terms may be there. Okay, in case it is a joint holding means joint names. Okay, this was asked once for CA. With respect to broker, yes, a person can be a broker in the sense, and who's that person? Broker means SEBI gives us certain rules for whom do you call as broker. So in that case, person should be authorized in writing whom do you call as broker. If you want to make some changes like alterations in terms and conditions, please make a note. First point, no rights reserved to company. Okay, நீங்க பாத்துக்க வந்து percentage வந்து in case 7% has been there. Okay, you are increasing the person to 8% rate of interest. This can be done because who is benefiting? I'm the company. As per the terms and conditions, I promised for 7%. Now I'm increasing to 8%. Who is benefiting? Obviously, this you can change the terms. In case 8% badala 6.5%. No, because it is creating a disadvantage to the depositor. Please club these two lines together. No rights reserved to the company if it's creating or disadvantaging the depositor. And have to check what are the terms and variations are there in deposit or deposit trustee or deposit insurance contract. You should not create any disadvantages there. And what are the things noted in the circular should be there in the read also. So check with the circulars and the deposits accepted. Okay. So this is quite important. Seems like very simple one, but it's quite important. If possible, please try to remember this rule number also. And on the topic, data related, that's why. Okay. Continuing. Credit rating, yes. This is also often repeated question. At least once in a year, you have to go for credit rating. And it's important that you give the credit rating details in form DPT3. It has to be filed to ROC. The credit rating பண்ணும்போது ஒவ்வொரு இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட்டுக்கும் என்ன ratings like A plus, A star, B star, B plus. Usually A will be meant for most of the companies, most like Standard and Poor's rating இருக்கு. No, what's the company? I totally forgot. Moody's rating இருக்கு. நிறைய rating companies இருக்கு. Rating agencies. Okay. They will be giving this gradings. A is called for equity or B is for debts related, for borrowings and debentures and other things and all. They'll be mentioning like B, B star, B star, B star star, or B plus or star. இந்த மாதிரி இருக்கும். It depends on Standard and Poor gives a different types of grading. Moody's give a different type of grading, so it's differing. Okay. So in the money rating portfolio, so this rating should not be below minimum investment rating or specified credit rating. So you need not money much. Probably you do all this in final level. Okay. And that agency, which agency is giving? So Singer Academy or the credit rating agency start பண்ணி போய் வாங்கிக்கலாம். நம்ம மேம் தான் போட்டு கொடுத்துருவாங்க. Not that way. It should be the specified agency by whom? NBFCs. Okay. RBI NBFCஸ்க்காக ஸ்பெசிஃபை பண்ணியிருக்கோம்ல அந்த கிரெடிட் ரேட்டிங் ஏஜென்சி தான் உங்களுக்கு மாட்டோம். Okay. So acceptance of public deposits, etc. So forms and particulars of advertisement. Yes, this is often asked question. What are the details and what are the particulars having? It's a very normal question. For advertisement, circular to members, you should be given in DPT1. You can give it in newspaper. DPT1 is a format, not form. DPT3 is the form. DPT1 is a format. How we have to circulate, okay? You have to give it in newspaper and it should be in two languages. One is English and one is vernacular language, the local language. And it has to be properly certified. What that certification consists of? No default is made. That I already discussed. Okay, no default is made along with the interest we have paid either before or after the commencement of the act. And if any default is made now, the default is made good and the 5 years has lapsed. Okay, you have to upload in the website. Okay, along with the newspaper, you have to upload in the website. And the circular should be issued in authority of the board of directors. So, board of directors resolution pass பண்ணி அவங்க issue பண்ணிருக்கணும். And issued not less than 30 days before the issue of the date signed. So, within 30 days, so not less than 30 days. And it should be signed by majority of the directors. Please highlight. This was asked once. இங்க ஒரு மைன்யூட்டா ஒரு டேட்டா இருக்குன்னா அது கொஞ்சம் இம்பார்ட்டண்டா நோட் பண்ணி should be signed by majority of the directors. Usually in the optional questions, they'll say signed by two directors. ஏன்னா அப்படிதான் உங்களுக்கு படிச்சிருக்கோம் நிறைய இடத்துல. So it will be mentioning as two directors. Two directors, no. They say here as majority of directors. Okay. And circular or advertisement will be valid for 6 months. So whichever is earlier earlier, sorry, whichever is later here, months then, whichever is later of close of financial year or the financial statements in AGM or AGM to be held. When the AGM has to be held? 6 months, within 6 months. Okay. In case not held within 6 months, what do you have to do? You have to take as held within 6 months. Okay. AGM to be held or be held. Okay. And if not, you're not able to take the deposit within the 6 months, now you have to go for fresh circular advertisement in each succeeding year. And the date of issue. What's the date? Validity 6 months, and the date and the validity check one. So that date will be considered with respect to date of issue. Okay, so newspaper date. Date of issue is date of advertisement on the check. So that date of advertisement from the newspaper. Or in case you are giving us a circular means date of dispatch. Okay. Rule 7, with respect to deposit trustees, there will be a written concern saying that these trustees are appointed. There need not be one trustee, there can be more than one trustee also, and they have to include all these details in the circular. And you have to execute a proper trust deed. You have to give the details in DPT3 form 7 days before issue of circular or advertisement. Please highlight 7 days before the issue of circular or advertisement. Okay. And there should be one at least independent director in the board meeting held. And you have to check whether all the directors have given the consent in the board meeting. Okay. Who cannot be deposit trustees? This also holds good for debenture trustees also. Debenture trustees are யாரெல்லாம் இருக்க முடியாது. Deposit trustees are யாரெல்லாம் இருக்க முடியாது. A director cannot be a trustee. Okay. KMP is not LMP. KMP cannot be a trustee. Officer cannot be a trustee. Employee cannot be a trustee. Along with these persons, their relatives also cannot be a trustee. Okay. See, why we need to have these trustees? To protect the interest of the deposit holders or debenture holders. Here in this case, if I myself, as a director, I myself is a trustee. The company deposit holders of our company. Is it okay? So, trustees or trust create from the government to have hope. Okay, so in that case, in that sense, I'm the director of the company or officer of the company. In case employee, எனக்கு ஏதாவது பணம் வந்தா போதும் தான் நினைப்பேன். As a salary வாங்குறவன். Okay, so in the points எல்லாம் பார்க்கலாம். And depositor cannot be a trustee. Okay, depositor means he will think as a depositor only. He will not think on behalf of the company. So he should be like an independent person. I don't know. A person indebted to the company. Okay, so if you are Mr. X, okay, you have borrowed, company has borrowed some 5 lakhs from you. Okay. கம்பெனி வந்து இப்போ டெபாசிட்டருக்கு ரீபே பண்ணுமா, உங்களுக்கு ரீபே பண்ணுமா? ஆக்சுவலா நார்ம்ஸ் படி, கம்பெனியோட நார்ம்ஸ் படி டெபாசிட் தான் ரீபே பண்ணணும். ஓகே. திஸ் மிஸ்டர் எக்ஸ் இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் த ட்ரஸ்டி இன் திஸ் ஃபார்ம். இப்ப சொல்லுங்க, மிஸ்டர் எக்ஸ் யாருக்கு பாப்பாரு? டெபாசிட்டருக்கு பாப்பாரா? இல்லன்னா எனக்கு 5 லட்சம் தர வேண்டியது இருக்கு. எனக்கு முதல்ல தந்து முடியும். கம்பெனி போயிடுச்சுன்னா அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கக்கூடாது. So, independence இருக்காது. So, person indebted to company or having any type of pecuniary relationship. What do you mean by material pecuniary relationship? What do you mean by the term pecuniary? What do you mean by the term pecuniary? In terms of value. 5 lakhs சொல்றோம்ல value. Pecuniary value. Okay, what do you mean by material pecuniary? For example, I'm a major supplier for your company. Okay, இப்ப என்ன பார்த்தோம் இங்க? லோன் கொடுத்தவங்க அந்த ஆங்கிள் பார்த்தோம்ல. Mr. X is a major supplier for the company. And the company has to give 20 lakhs for the supply of goods. இப்போ சொல்லுங்க, நான் டெபாசிட்டரா ஆக்ட் பண்ணுவேன், சப்ளையரா ஆக்ட் பண்ணுவேன். எனக்கு 20 lakhs வரணும், வந்தா போதும். So, you should not have any material pecuniary relationship. And you should not enter into any guarantee agreement also for securing the principal, etc. Here, whenever we say company, please highlight the company includes the holding company, subsidiary company, and associate company also. I am talking about ABC company. Okay, ABC company limited. If there is a subsidiary company for this company called as S company, okay, நீங்க எந்த கம்பெனி பத்தி தானே பேசுறீங்க, நாங்க இந்த கம்பெனில தான் டைரக்டர். No, should not be a director in this company also. Likewise, this company as a holding company is H limited னு வச்சுக்கலாம். You should not be a director or so on for this company also. Which means what? It should not be, the companies themselves should not be related. கம்பெனி ரிலேட்டடா இருந்தா நீங்க திரும்ப கம்பெனிக்காக தானே பாப்பீங்க. So the deposit holders will not be protected. Yes, what is the role of the trustees here? They have to ensure that sufficient amount is there for charge creation. In a charge creation, minimum that 100% has should be there. Okay. And they should themselves get satisfied. They are not inconsistent with the content in the circulars. What is the deposit scheme mentioned? The trust deed, compliance proper. If it is not proper means they should clearly identify and have to mention to the deposit holders. And they have to ensure and take steps for remedy. Okay, in case any damages are occurring, in case of any breach of covenants and any provisions of trustee, have to go. And properly meeting will be held as and when required. They have to supervise with respect to implementation of the charge creation, and security becomes enforceable. They have to, when does the security becomes enforceable? Due date வந்துச்சு security enforce பணம் பே பண்ணலாம், அதுக்காக security create பண்றாங்க. Okay, and other acts like protection of interest of deposit holders and resolve the grievances. These are all their duties, so it's understood. Meeting of depositors is often asked question. Please highlight. The depositors has to request in writing. The same provision holds for debenture also, debenture trustees and here also. They have to request in writing. It should be signed. So 3 points. Okay. First one, writing. Second point, it should be signed. And at least 1/10 of the depositors should have signed. Depositors in the sense that not the head count, in value. ஒரு கம்பெனிக்கு 5 depositors தான் இருப்பாங்க, ஆனா வேல்யூல பார்க்கணும். So 1/10 of the depositors along with the outstanding value. You have to check and it should be covering 1/10. Okay. So in case it is going for 100 crores now, at least 10 crores வந்து A and B hold பண்ணிருக்காங்க. So A and B is signing and requesting for the meeting. Yes, the meeting has to be okay, 10 crores and more. Happening of an event, probably some default is occurring or they are passing or they are selling any assets or something like that. It's affecting the interest of the depositors, they can go for a meeting. These are the main 2 reasons why you can go for meeting. Yes, nomination. Nominate any person as you should because it's a debt then nominate any person. And the register of deposit has to be hold on, maintained at register office. There can be 1 or more registers. Why 1 or more registers? 1 register at me, another register in case I'm having a foreign branch or something like that, I can have 1. Okay. And entries has to be made within 7 days and it should be authenticated. Please highlight often asked. Authenticated by director or secretary or authorized officer. Okay. And preserve for not less than 8 years from the latest change. For not less than. This is also often asked. How many years you have to preserve? At least 8 years, which means you have to preserve not less than details. From the date of latest entry. ஃபர்ஸ்ட்ல இருந்து 8 இயர்ஸ் சொல்லல. லாஸ்ட் ஒருத்தர் வந்து பாரோ குடுத்திருக்காங்கல்ல, டெபாசிட் பண்ணிருக்காங்கல்ல, அந்த டேட்ல இருந்து பார்க்கணும். So this is also quite an important one. Okay. Yes, what are the contents? This is also often asked. Usually will have name, address, PAN, guardian's detail if minor. Okay. If there is a person nominated, the nominee's details, date and amount, security, and what is the charge created, interest rate, due dates, what are the other mandates and instructions. No TDS will be deducted if any you have to give the detailings and duration, repayable date, and deposit receipt number, and if necessary, all the other details. Probably if you want to give the details like promoter, Elena, the director has given the loan, not a deposit, the declaration details, the lump of the others. Okay. Yes, ma'am, that's about deposits. This is all you can just go through. I'm not. Yeah, I'll go for this one. Return of deposits. Already I've discussed this, but I'm just refreshing. Includes, please highlight. I already have discussed, please highlight. Includes reporting of not of deposit. Now, deposit வாங்கலாங்க பரவாயில்ல நீங்க file பண்ணுங்க. It's a periodic filing. What is the periodic filing? Means every year you have to file. Every year means on or before 30th June every year. You have to file in which form? DPT3, and there is a prescribed fee, and you have to furnish what details? 31st March, close of the financial year, on the date order the moment one of so that 1 year. Okay. So form to file return and also for not a deposit by every company other than a government company. Please highlight every company other than a government company. So it's not eligible for government company. Apart from this, there was an additional requirement. You remember 2019 வந்துச்சு 2017 சொல்லிருப்பேன் நினைக்கிறேன் 2019 வந்துச்சு ஒன் டைம் ரிட்டர்ன் இது வரைக்கும் கம்பெனி ஃபார்மா என்னென்ன டெபாசிட் வாங்கினாங்களோ அது எல்லாமே கொடுக்கணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு வித்தின் 90 days from 31st March 2019 இது இப்போ எக்ஸாம்ல கேட்கறதெல்லாம் தெரிஞ்சுக்கோங்க. And this is not normal. You have to disclose in financial statements. What is the penalty rate? In case you're not paying at right time, not 18% penalty rate. These are not normal. And power of central government to decide certain questions. Okay, the applicability of 73, 74, and 75 to eligible questions. Okay, this is not okay. In case when you talk about this 2013 Act, on the date of commencement, you have any deposits and you want to give any statements regarding deposits, so you have to file a form called as DPT. Okay. Other things are all you can have, just have a look. Okay, I'm not just going line by line. Penal provisions, failure for repayment for company, 1 crore to 10 crore for officer, jail தண்டனை இருக்கு. Okay, imprisonment, criminal liability. So 7 years, fine 25 lakhs to 2 crores. Contravention of the rules. You have to follow the rules. If not following, 5,000 rupees penalty. Continuing per day, 500 rupees for every day. Okay, this is for both company and officer. Okay. If you are not following the section 73 and 76, then whichever is lesser of 1 crore or 2 times of the amount, maximum it can go to 10 crores. Imprisonment 7 years, fine 25 lakhs to 2 crores. And along with that, you'll get the criminal liability also. Criminal liability is related to crime, imprisonment. That's why it's not a criminal liability for company, but for the officers, they'll get the criminal liability. So probably company or shareholders, whoever it is, criminal liability is applicable everywhere. 447. Okay, if you talk about this section, this last one content, let me discuss. This is often asked. If you're not following section 73 and 76, then you're contravening the provision means you'll be penalized. How much? 1 crore or 2 times of the deposit amount. For example, what's the deposit amount? So, for example, like 25 lakhs is the deposit amount. So you take 2 times of that. Okay, so this is 50 lakhs. Okay, so whichever is lesser of 1 crore or 2 times of the deposit amount, maximum how much it can be? 10 crores. Okay, so 50 lakhs or 1 crore, whichever is lesser. Whichever is lesser is how much? 50 lakhs. So maximum how much you can collect? 10 crores. Okay, if this amount itself is more than 10 crores, you can collect up to 10 crores. Okay, so that's all. Yes, that's all for today. Next class we'll discuss on charges.